لا فتى إلا علي لا سيف إلا ذو الفقار لا فتى إلا علي لا سيف إلا ذو الفقار
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we'll be looking at hadith number 10 from the Commander of the Faithful from 110 Lessons for Life. And today's hadith is on the topic of, is the majority always correct? In the era that we live in today, and not only today but really for probably the history of humanity, I'm sure people have always had this belief in their back of their minds that the only path, which is the path of correctness, the path of truth, is that which the majority is on. Because obviously people believe, well, how can the majority of people be wrong? How can the majority make a mistake? And therefore we always have seen this group mentality, this mob mentality where no matter whether they're right or wrong, we believe that the majority is always right. Even if it's our country, if it's our religious community, our political party, our group, our clan, whatever the case may be, we always deem the majority to be the correct path. But is this what Islam envisions for us? Is this what the Quran and the Hadith speak about? Let us first look at the hadith for today, the saying for today from the Commander of the Faithful, Imam Ali, may God's peace and blessings be upon him. In this tradition, he has spoken the following words. O people, never have fear while treading the path of true guidance due to the limited number of people who are on this path. So we see from the Commander of the Faithful that he is addressing all of humanity. He's telling Muslim, non-Muslim, doesn't matter what color, what race, what creed, what religion you belong to, that don't think that the majority are always on the path. Do not look for what the majority are following and then follow that particular path. Actually, when we look at it from the religious Islamic perspective and the Islamic point of view, and we reflect on the Quran, we see that in numerous instances, not just one or two times, but in many times, the Quran actually tells us that the majority have no intellect. The majority are ignorant. The majority are dumb and blind. The majority are not the ones to follow. But we're going to clarify what we mean by that in a few short minutes. But for example, in one verse of the Quran, we read the following. Allah tells us, وَإِن تُطِعْ أَكْثَرَ مَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ يُضِلُّوكَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Were you to follow a majority of the people on earth, they would dissuade you, they would push you away from the path of God. So the Quran clearly shows us that the majority is not the criteria to use when you're looking for a path to follow within life. So then the question comes up, well, if we are not to follow the majority, do we follow the underdogs? Do we always follow the minority? Do we look for who the minority group is in within any society, within any political party, ideology, religion, and then attach ourselves to them because they are the minority? No, that also is not what Islam is saying. Islam is not telling us to reject the majority and only follow the minority, but rather we are given another indication of what path to follow in life, of what way to go, what path to tread. And what we understand from the Quranic perspective and the religious perspective is that if we see a majority of people after our research and investigation are following a path that we feel would lead to success and salvation for this life and more importantly the next, if we see a group of individuals like this and they form the majority, then there is no problem to follow that majority because we've done our due diligence and research and investigation and we have proven to ourselves that that path they are following is correct. Despite the fact that they are the majority, but through our investigation we found that they are the correct path to follow. Conversely, if we see a minority group of individuals and we investigate about them, we look at their belief system, at their teachings, at their ideology, and we find it does not go in line with our intellect, that there are some doubts and confusions we have that they cannot even clear, then even despite the fact that they are the minority and usually we would want to follow them, but in this case we say no, that we will not follow them simply because of the fact that they're minority. We will reject it because their ideology does not make sense to us. So what is the solution? We are not following the majority, we're not following the minority. What do? Do we just live on our own on an island and we just follow what we want to follow of the dictates? Again, that is not what Islam is telling us. Rather, what we see from the Islamic ethos and the teachings of our faith is to follow the majority in the quality, not in the quantity. So for example, in the Quran, in Surah Al-Mulk, we read that Allah has created death and life so that He may test each and every one of us, which of us is best in our conduct. He doesn't say who is the most, who has the most actions of goodness. He says, which of you is in the best of actions? And therefore, when we look at the issue of majority or minority within Islamic teachings, we understand that majority and minority is not in terms of the quantity, but rather the quality. So if we see a majority of people are qualitatively following and are leading their lives in a moral, upright fashion, then we can follow them. They are the majority, but they are the majority in terms of the quality of their actions, not the majority in terms of the quantity of numbers of people who are following that particular tradition and ideology. And so therefore, to sum it up, we see that majority is not the path to follow. If we look at our own lives today, if a majority of people in our society determine that lying is good, would we follow them and that action just because the majority do it? Obviously we wouldn't. If the majority say it is okay to steal or to cheat, would we do it just because the majority are doing it? Obviously not. We would reject that. So when it comes to our morals, our ethics, the morality, we don't look at what the majority are doing. Again, we need to study each of the groups, each of the ideologies, each of the methodologies. And if we see a majority of people are following it and there are good teachings, then we accept it. And conversely, if a minority group are there, but we study them and we see that what they are propagating is not logical, it's not sane, it's not morally pleasing, then even though they are the minority, we also have to reject them. So to sum it up and to conclude, we don't look at quantity of individuals who are following a path. We look at the quality of their teachings, of their character, of their morals, and then if they are the majority, we follow them. Otherwise, we look for another path to follow in life. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.